y'all was wondering where I was. What is going on? What is going on? You know who it is. You know who I am. I'm First Lady Tammy. Who else would I be? Thank you so much, once again, coming to tune in to my book chat. Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate everybody who's watching. Chef Shapino. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? And anybody else who's seen in, what is going on? What is going on? What is going on? I know it's been a while. You have stuff going on, and it's been a while. And I know y'all missed me talking about books. One of the things I love to do. So I'm back to talk about another book that is an amazing book, and definitely one that I think y'all are going to want to check out. So my job is to inform you about these books that are definitely ones that you want to read. I'm not going to tell every single possible thing about the book, but my job is to give you a little bit of a nugget of information, a little tidbit of information, so it'll catch your interest and you'll say, oh my God, I need to go check out that book. So, well, actually, I don't know, because it might not be at the library. Some of these books, they ain't going to put them in the library, just saying. But there are some books that, you know what, they might be there, but if not, you can get them on Amazon, and you could always get them on Audible. I sometimes have the audio version of the book. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get right into it, and I'm going to first go to my questions, because I have these questions that I put on here, because it helps me kind of let the flow just flow. So the last book I talked about was Blind Spot. That was the last book I talked about. I talked about Lies My Teacher Told Me. If you have not picked up that book, I'm telling you, you don't know what you are missing out on. Well, actually, I do. You're missing out on true history, not what they have you in the history books, but the true history. So if you have not picked up that book, borrowed that book, bought that book, got on Audible, you definitely want to do that, because that's a book I highly recommend. And then if you want to know just pretty much what it's about, you can actually check out the other book chat I did where I talked about the book. Definitely one you want to check out. The other one was Blind Spot. That one was really good. It talked about, how people have these hidden biases. And I think the subtitle of the book is Hidden Biases of Good People, because sometimes you're a good person. You think you might not have a blind spot, but guess what? You might have a blind spot. So other than that, let's get on to the new book. So y'all know I've been talking about this every time I get on the podcast. I always say, this is a book I'm going over. And y'all was like, when you going to have the chat? When you going to have the book? When you going to have the book chat? And I'm like, okay, finally, I got to have the book chat. I'm going to have it right now. So without further ado, what's going on? Knowledge and relationships. They tell y'all to get the likes up. Yes, get them up for me, y'all. Get them up for me. So without further ado, let me hit y'all up with these questions right quick. Oh, by the way, let me go ahead and do this for you. I'm going to do this. There we go. I'm going to put this down here because guess what? Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. This is going to have the link. So if you want to get on here and chat with me about the book, it's there for you. See that link? It's just going across the screen. Ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. Okay, so we're going to take that away because I want to pop up with the first question that I have. So the first question is, why did I choose the book? And guess what the book is? Kabam! This is the book. Y'all see that title right there? Me and my white supremacy. Yes, this is the book. So here's the interesting thing I will say about this book. Obviously, I ain't white. My dad is half white, but, I'm not full white. So if you see a title like this, you might be like, well, First Lady Tammy, you ain't white. Why are you going to read a book about you and your white supremacy? You ain't got no white supremacy. And you're right. I ain't got white supremacy. I ain't white. But I think it's a good idea to sometimes read books that may want to help people that suffer from white supremacy to learn a bit about themselves and things that they need to do. So I actually got this book because the district that I work for, we do all kinds of different book studies, like Lies My Teacher Told Me was a book study. Blind Spot was also a book study. And this also was another book study that we did. In fact, In fact, I'm gonna leave this up here for you guys. There you go. There's a link. There you go. We did another one about a book called We Want to Do More Than Just Survive. That book right there. That book right there is another good book. There was also another book we did called White Fragility. Why is it so hard for white people to talk about race? That book right there was a really, really good book. That one, well, I will say will open up your mind a little bit to the mind of a white person that, just doesn't want to talk about race. So it was very interesting, very interesting, very interesting. So, but yeah, so we did a bunch of different book studies. And, the good thing is that you do the book study, you get to keep the book. So there were these books that I got to keep, and I was like, hey, you know what? Let me tell other people about these books, because I didn't even know about these books before I did the book study. And so my thinking is that if I didn't even know about the book, then there's probably a bunch of other people that didn't know about the book. So my job is to inform you about these books that are out there that you need to read, because I think they're important books that people need to read. If you haven't read them, you definitely want to get them. So that's how I got this book. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. So that's how I got this book. And I didn't read it at first. So I'm going to be honest. I didn't read it at first because the title, I was kind of like, I don't know. This might be for, the people that I work with to learn a little bit more rather than me. And so I said, maybe this book is not a book that I need to read because, I'm not white. Let's just be honest. I'm not white. So I just kind of wanted to see, after a while, what was in this book. Why is this book so significant? I mean, the title in itself, Me and My White Supremacy, here goes the book again, is obviously a book about white supremacy and what it is and how you need to deal with it and what you need to think about it. So that's how I got this book. That's how I got this book. And so once I read it, I found it to be very, very interesting. And I say that because now I personally have never had any, as far as I know, any direct racism happen to me. I have not. Knock on wood for that. Thank goodness. So I know there's some people that is the case. You may say, well, maybe these things don't happen because this never happened to me, kind of thing. I'm not that dumb or naive, I should say. I know that I'm Black, so it's a possibility that may happen to me at some time. So, but I found this book interesting because it does go into detail about white supremacy, white privilege, white saviorism. And so it talks about just all like policing, like Black people, and like just even like talk policing. If you don't know what that means, I'll talk about it in the book. So I found it interesting because it goes into just the different ways that white privilege is expressed, the different ways that white fragility is expressed, the different ways that white supremacy is expressed that you might not even realize it's being done. And so that's the thing, is that when you say, somebody like me says, well, that hasn't happened to me, you may say, well, I haven't seen anything direct, but that's where you get those indirect things that happen that you don't even realize are happening. And then when you read a book like this, it's like, oh, damn. Like, I have seen that. I have experienced that. So that's why I thought this book was good for me to read, because obviously, like I said, I'm not white, but this is a good book that I was like, man, I never really thought about it like that. I've never really realized that, yeah, that's exactly what that is. So, you have the direct things that are done, but this book really talks about the indirect things that are done that some people may not even realize that they're doing, because for them it's automatic. So yeah, so that's why I chose this book, because I thought it would be interesting for me to read, just to kind of see, number one, it was said, because I was being nosy, but also I thought it would just be interesting to read about things like this white superiority, this white fragility, this white privilege that, some people say don't exist. So I found the book to be very, very interesting, very interesting. And when I'm reading a book, I will highlight in the book, if it's mine, I will highlight in the book. I will put little markers where, you know, things are. And so I got a whole bunch of markers. You see all this? A whole bunch of markers in this book. And the book is kind of highlighted throughout, just some different things that I thought were really, really important. So those are some of the things that I'm going to be discussing on here in relation to this book, because there's some things I might say, because I really want that if you're watching, it just is something that you process and really think about. Because like I said, there's some things that I may tell you that's in this book that you didn't necessarily think that that's what it is. And you might be like, oh yeah, I knew that's what it was. I knew that's what it was. So, but for other people that didn't, you know, this right here, it'll give you some info. It'll give you some info. So anyway, other than that, let me get to my next question. What did I like and what didn't I like about the book? I can't say there was anything I didn't like about the book. I found the book to be very informative for me, because like I said, there are things in there that I never really looked at as white privilege or white superiority or white frigid. I never looked at it like that. I guess I didn't, I mean, that could have been me being naive, but I just didn't see it like that. But then when you read it and you sit there and think, you're like, you know what? That makes sense. That really, really makes sense. One of the things that I liked in the book is, so this book is, I guess it's like a 28-day thing. So you read a small section of it a day, and then it has a little reflection thing at the end of each part. So, for example, it has, let's see, it has like little journaling prompts that you would do if you were doing this little study, I guess you can call it, at the end of each one, where it has the person to kind of reflect on what they read and reflect on themselves and how they relate to what they read. So I think that it's good because it helps you to kind of just look at yourself and how have you done any of the things that you've read? How have you expressed things in the way the book that says you express it? Because the reality is that sometimes when things are not pointed out to you, you don't even know what's going on. When it's something that's all around you, there may not be anybody to point something out. So that's why you have it where people say they don't see this, or this isn't real, or all those kind of things. So I like the fact that it has those journaling prompts at the end to really make you think, okay, let me look at what I just read. Let me look at myself and see how am I connected to what I read. Because I think that's part of what the book is trying to do, is build connections between the reader and the book itself. So those are the things I liked. I like that at the beginning of almost every section, there's different quotes that are there. So let me find a quote that I liked, because there's a whole bunch of them. So, and there's different chapters on different things. So there's a chapter that says you and anti-Blackness against Black women. The one that follows that is you and anti-Blackness against Black men. So this one says, hold on, let me go to another one, because I'm gonna come back to that one in a little bit, but it says you and color blindness. So, you know, that's the one people say, oh, I don't see color. I don't see color. Yeah, you see color. You see color. It says white people think it is a compliment when they do not see you as a Black person. So, you know, that's when somebody says, oh, I don't see you as Black. I just see you as, you know, as just a human being. You have to see me as Black. That's what I am. And to say you see me as human is like you're discrediting who I am on the outside and on the inside. You're discrediting everything that makes me who I am. So I found that quote to be very, very interesting, because you do have this color blindness that people have that they pretend as if they don't have. And so I found that quote to be interesting in the book. And I do have a question about quotes, so I'm going to kind of jump around when it comes to quotes. But something in the book that said, it says, young children understand that the idea of we don't see color does not make sense. And I thought that was a very interesting thing. And so as a little story, so when the whole George Floyd thing happened, my daughter's 8 years old. For those who don't know, I am a single mom. I'm a teacher, you know, I talk about it all the time. My daughter's 8 years old. And when the George Floyd thing happened, out here, because I live in Sacramento, California, they started doing, there were like riots, things going on, and they did a curfew. It was like an 8 o'clock curfew. And my daughter couldn't even understand what the hell was going on. She's 8 years old, and I don't have her watching the news because the news is just depressing. That's what it is. The news is depressing. They tell you all these things going on, and it ain't gonna make you feel good. So she didn't understand really what's going on. So I had to have a conversation with her. And, as a parent of color with a child of color, that we are going to do more than just have a birds and the bees conversation. You know that. We're going to have another type of conversation that is as important, if not more important, than the birds and the bees conversation. Because before the birds and the bees come up, they may have to deal with what you talk about in the other conversation. So I had to have a conversation with her about the fact, I said, when you're at school, I said, there may be some kids that don't want to play with you because of the color of your skin. I said, there may be some kids that don't want to talk to you because of the color of your skin. There may be some kids that don't want to be your friend because of the color of your skin. Let me pause on that. What's going on? The intellectual soapbox. What's up? What's
girl?
going on?
What's up, First Lady Tammy?
How you doing?
I'm good. This ain't intellectual soapbox. This is M3. You know what I'm saying? Dear, pass me my snacks, dear.
You're hilarious. You're
over
funny.
there. Listen to this dude. No, I'm joking.
You're so funny. How are you
Shout
doing?
out to M3. I'm good. I'm chilling. Just finished my workout. So yeah.
Oh, nice. So I was telling the story because I was talking about one of the chapters in this book is about you and color blindness. And one of the quotes in the book says, young children understand that the idea of we don't see color does not make sense. And so because I was having a conversation with my daughter when the whole George Floyd thing happened, and I was talking to her about the fact that, there may be some kids that don't want to talk to her, don't want to be friends with her, don't want to play with her because of the color of her skin. And she said to me, she said, but my skin color doesn't matter. And I said to her, I said, it shouldn't matter, but it does. And I think at first she didn't think I was serious. Like she kind of had this smile on her face, like she didn't know if I was being serious or not. And I had to tell her I'm being serious. I said, these are things that you have to understand. And so for me, as her mom, it was heartbreaking for me to have that conversation because she's 8 years old. Like she's 8 years old. The fact that I have this kind of conversation with her at 8 years old, it bothered me because that's not what I should be talking to her about. But the sad reality is that the way of the world, those are the kind of conversations that you have. And even if it's not your child, even if it's your nephew, your niece, even that is a conversation you need to have with them because there's a girl that does that she will do my hair every now and then. And I was talking to her and she was saying that her kid's dad, he doesn't talk to his kids about that. And her son was almost in middle school. And so it was just interesting because we were in the car one day and I think I was playing the song Glory, which I absolutely love the song Glory. Absolutely love it.
Glory,
and I
who's that
was talking to them about the song and what the different things they were saying meant because their son was asking. So her daughter I think her daughter was about 5 or 6. She was in the back seat. She was like, Black Lives Matter. I was like, that's right, girl. Black Lives Matter. So I said that. And then she's like, all lives matter. I was like, no. No. Let's not do that. And so she couldn't understand. So I had to have a dialogue with her about why that just was not appropriate. And so, it's just kind of sad when you have to have these kind of conversations with these young kids. I mean, even my BSU last week, we were in the BSU and I was talking to them about the way that they present themselves and the way that they are seen in the world. And I said, the reality is that there are some, I said, you guys, because we talked about Emmett Till. And I told him, I said, if y'all haven't seen The Women of the Movement on Hulu, you need to go check it out and go watch it because that's a hell of a story. It's it'll break your heart, it'll make you mad, but it's definitely something to watch. But I was talking to them, I said, the reality is that you want to make sure you make it home. You want to make sure you make it home. I said, and the reality is that when you get pulled, so I told the story about my ex that we were on the phone one day and he got pulled over while we were on the phone. And he still had me on the phone, but I could hear the dialogue between him and the police officer. And so you get this kind of feeling when you hear that, because you don't know if the person's going to make it home. You're just hoping that that police officer is having a great day and they're following the law like they're supposed to. And that person that is on the phone is able to make it to where they need to go. Because I had another friend who she was on the phone and she was just being all kinds of mouthy, and I was like, "Girl, you better calm your robe." I said, because you don't know what the police is going to do. You talking crazy. But she obviously wasn't listening to me. You know, she was still continuing. I mean, she went home, but the thing about it is, you know, you can't have that attitude that the cop is not going to do whatever the cop want to do, because there are some cops out there. Not all cops are bad. That's the reality, but there are some that are. So, and I said to him, I said, the reality is that you could do every single thing that they tell you to do. You could do everything they tell you to do, and that's still not a guarantee that you're going to make it home. That's still not a guarantee that you're going to make it home. So anyway, I had that conversation with my BSU kids, and I talk to them about it all the time. But yeah, it's just interesting when you have to have those kind of conversations with your kids, with your young people, so that they can understand what the world sees when they see them. So anyways.
Well, salute to you, Tammy. Gotta give you a hand clap.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Some love to people in the chat, man. Gotta show my man Chef Shapino some love. Chef, what up, Chef?
Thank you, Chef. Thank you.
We see him 3 in the building. We see him in the building. What's up, M3? What's up? You know what I mean?
Thank you very much.
Shout out to Wally. Wally, what's good, bro? You know what I mean?
What's going on, Wally? Thank you very, very much. Okay, so let me read this other part out of here. So it says I don't mean I don't literally see color. What I mean is that I treat all people the same regardless of their color. I mean that I believe that all people should be treated the same no matter what color they are. It says they sometimes go on to add, talking about different races is so divisive. It creates racism. It says if we could just stop talking about whites and blacks and focus on the contents of people's hearts, we wouldn't see any more racism. And it's like, are you kidding me? Like, are you kidding me?
But that leads to my question, though, right?
Yes.
Because is it really wrong to raise your kids in a kind of like, if you watch the show Fresh Prince, right?
Now, I haven't seen the new one. I've heard about the new one. I haven't seen.
No, I'm talking about the regular one. I'm not talking about Bel Air.
Yeah.
So is it wrong to really raise your kids with a Carlton Banks type of mentality? You know what I mean? Where they're not really aware of racism. They're not really kind of socially into it. They're kind of just living their life as a normal human being. Is that really wrong? Like, can we really say that a parent is wrong for doing that?
I mean, I don't think. Okay, so I think that you have to live in the reality of the way the world is rather than the way you want the world to be. So to raise your child where they're not aware of these things, you're doing your child a disservice. You need to make sure your child is aware of how the world sees them, despite the fact of how good of a child they are, despite the fact that they may get straight A's, despite the fact that they follow the rules, despite all of that, there are still people that see your child a certain kind of way because of the color of their skin. So I feel like it's a parent who has a child of color. It is your job to make sure your child is aware of those things rather than not aware. Because, for instance, your child goes to school and a child calls them the N-word, or a child doesn't want to play with them because of the color of their skin or things like that. Your child is very confused about why. They don't know why. They don't know why, and then they'll say, well, I'm good. I was being nice. And they say all these great things, which are true about them, but they don't understand and you didn't make them aware. So with my daughter, when I talked to her, I said, when people do those things, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. because there's nothing wrong with you. So I want to make her aware of these things so that if it were to happen, she already has the security within herself that she knows that she is perfectly fine. And that if this person chooses to act or say a certain thing, she knows that that has nothing to do with her. It has everything to do with them. So I feel like it's better for your child to be aware of certain things in the world than to be unaware, because then you have it where like there's episode of Fresh Prince where Will and Carlton are in the car.
Yes,
And
that's the
yeah,
one I'm referencing to. And
yeah,
they get pulled over.
yeah,
Uncle Phil has to
and,
get him out, and then Will is like, dude, you don't get it. You just don't
right,
get it. And then at the end,
right.
Carlton is like, well, Dad, what I'm saying? Do you really think they pulled us over because of our skin? Like, and
Yep. And the dad
you know,
says, I ask the same question every time. He said, the first time I got stopped.
yep, yep, yep.
And that's the thing, is that you don't want your child to be left with all those questions. Because if your child is left with all those questions, your child is gonna come to you and, why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell me anything?
Salute.
And you don't want that. You do not want that, because that's going to be heartbreaking. I mean, it's already heartbreaking enough that you have to have that conversation anyway. It's going to be more heartbreaking to know that your child had to endure going through whatever they had to go through because you didn't even take the time to sit down and have a conversation with them. That wouldn't have taken long, but it would have helped them feel more secure about who they were and been proud of who they were. So people are going to raise their kids the way they want to. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But, keep your kids informed. Keep your kids informed. That's what you definitely need to do. So, but yeah. So anyway, so another quote. So in the chapter that says "You and anti-blackness against Black women," it says, "Black women know what it means to love ourselves in a world that hates us." I think that speaks about having that self-love and loving yourself, because the reality is that there's so much that is against you, not just as being a woman, but as being a Black woman. There is so much that you're up against, and the world hates you in so many ways. So yeah. So the other one, which is the one of the chapter that's about the and what is it? The anti-blackness against Black women. The other one was "You and anti-blackness against Black men." That one says, "Because white men can't police their imagination, Black men are dying." I thought that was a really powerful statement, because it says, because they can't police their imagination, Black men are dying. So you have to think that a lot of times when there is a certain interaction, it's not because of fact, it's because of what you think in your mind. It's about what they have in their imagination about who you are, not exactly who you are, because they don't know you, but who they imagine you to be. And because of that, even with the police, when you have these police that pull you over and do all kinds of other things, it's because of who they imagined you to be rather than who you actually are. So because of that, Black men are dying. So I thought that was a really, really powerful statement, because it's so very, very true. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that happens on a regular basis. I think that I think, but I mean, okay. Here's the thing, right? If I think also we do have to be aware of what we do as well.
mm-hmm,
Like if I'm walking down the street and I got on all black, what I mean, black hoodie, black baseball cap, you
right.
know what I'm saying, black pants, whether it's or black shorts or whatever, and I'm all blacked out, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
Like people may feel a type of way. They may
yeah.
react a type of way because you like, oh, yo, like they see the hoodie, they see me dressing all black. You
Mm-hmm,
know what I mean? People may want to get out of Dodge. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm,
Because of who
yep.
they may think, or they may think what I have on me. So I think that that's the thing. We just got to be also aware of the tone
Mm-hmm,
we're setting. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Of the room we're walking into. And
Mm-hmm,
I think when people say, I think when people be like, well, I should be able just to wear whatever I want around anybody. Yeah, that'd be nice, but when you okay, here's the thing. Here's my pushback on that. Right? When people say
mm-hmm,
that, when you go to a job interview, right? You understand that when you're on a job interview, you can't wear whatever you want.
right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
So if you walk around certain communities or certain people and you look a certain way, they gonna feel a type of way. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
and rightfully so. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you're sending a message to them by what you have on. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's like if a girl walks around and she's dressing super promiscuous and she's like, "Well, I'm not a whore." Well, you're not a whore, but it looks like you're advertising to be one.
Good,
You know what I
right?
mean?
Right.
It's like if a dude is walking around and he got the muscle shirt on and he's all you see him and he he's like, man, I ain't trying to show off my muscles. Well, why you got this muscle shirt on?
Right.
Like,
Right.
if you're not trying to advertise something, then you know what I mean. Then you gotta, like I said, you gotta read the room, man. You read the room when it comes to other situations. I don't know why people just act so ignorant when it comes to other things. Like you know what you're doing. Like, bro, you know if you went all black, people gonna be scared. You know what I mean? Like, they just gonna be
Yeah.
scared, man. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you're gonna be scared, especially if you walk in a certain community. They're gonna be scared. Hell, even if you walk in the hood, they may be scared, but they may be less scared. But if you walking in an all white neighborhood and you got let's say you got tinted windows and you got certain music playing,
Mm-hmm.
they gonna feel away. You know what I
Right.
mean? They're not used to that. You know what I'm saying? You
Mhm.
are an alien in their environment.
Right.
So
Right.
you basically, without you knowing, you causing a scene. And I mean, I
Right.
think we do know, but we're like, whatever, I'm gonna be me. So if you're gonna be you, understand that you're gonna get a reaction from them. Like, that's just gonna happen.
Right.
It's just human reaction.
Right. No, I completely agree with everything that you're saying. I absolutely agree. Okay, so real quick, how do you pronounce that?
Cars, car.
Car says, for me, I seen cops see all interactions with the public as prejudiced criminals speaking from receded mindset. Interesting. 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 I mean, you know what? I can see that. I can see that. I think when you're a police officer, number one, they need to have more training. That's just my personal opinion. But you do have some that see things a certain way, and it's hard for them to see it any other way when they're so used to that. So I do think there are some that see all in that all the interaction with the public are prejudiced criminals. It's interesting, but I think it depends. Like, because there are certain cops, like even on Facebook, there's like Officer Tommy, I think his name is, and he's always in his community interacting with people. He's very much in his community, and he's loved in his community. So I think that in order for you to be a cop that doesn't see all interactions with the public as prejudiced criminals, you have to be a cop that actually wants to be in the community and get to know the people that are in the community, so you don't have those type of that type of mindset. So I think that mindset comes from maybe what you've dealt with in the past, and you just assuming that that's what it is, rather than you trying to find out exactly who's there. So yeah. So anyway, thank you for that comment. Definitely, thank you. Alrighty. Womenosphere, I hate saying this, Womenosphere versus Manosphere. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for tuning in.
AR, what's good, bro?
It's so hard to say. It's so hard to say. And then Car is fine. Interesting. Oh, thank you, Car. We'll call you Car. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. Because
All right, Carl.
sometimes we're like, how do I say that? How do I say that? Thank you very, very much. And then it says their training justifies the expected. Interesting, interesting. Thank you. Okay, so Women is Fair says single mothers raising. I mean, I don't mean to laugh. I'm a teacher, so I see a lot. So yeah, I see a lot. So it says raising these bad kids that the cops have to stop them. Need training. We need a baby mama train. You know what? I
For
cannot
some
disagree.
parents,
I
yeah,
do.
for
I
some parents,
cannot
yeah.
disagree with that. Like Intellectual Soapbox said, for some parents, absolutely. I work at a middle school, and I cannot tell you these kids that they do not care. They are defiant. They are disrespectful. They do all kinds of things, and they try to get up under your skin. That's what they do. And so I tell these kids that when you do certain things, The first person they look at is not. They look at your parents, and they sit there, and the teachers and the other kids will say, "Who raised you? What kind of parents do you have? You ain't got no home training." All these different kind of things, because your kids are a reflection of you. And so the thing is that you have these people that they make a baby, but they are not raising a baby. They're trying to raise a friend. So I think that's part of the problem, is that you have these parents that are too afraid to be parents, and they're trying to be friends. And I think that's part of the problem. So, I'm a mom. I'm a single mom, but I have expectations with my daughter, and she already knows I have a low tolerance for certain things, and she already knows she needs to be on her best behavior any and everywhere she goes. But like I said, some people, I think I was watching this episode of Fraternity Court, and I just have to tell you, so this woman, and this is a sidebar because this ain't got nothing to do with the book. So in this episode, this girl, she was getting 3 men tested.
Damn.
And all of them were people she worked with. All of them were people that worked at the sandwich shop. They all worked at the sandwich shop. And the time that she had been intimate with all 3 guys was in the space of 2 weeks. In the space of 2 weeks.
Are you serious?
I'm so serious. She'd been intimate with all 3 of these guys in the space of 2 weeks. And it was more than once in the space of 2 weeks.
Whoa.
And so it was just interesting because I was watching it. And so 2 of the guys, she told that, they might be a dad, but this other guy came and she hadn't said anything to him. And so he's on the stand, he's saying, I didn't know. And she says, well, you wouldn't be a good dad. I didn't want you to be the dad, so I didn't tell you, which doesn't matter whether you want him to be. The fact is the matter, you did what you did, so you don't get a choice in the matter. You could have chosen not to do what you did with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, but you chose to go ahead and do it with all these different people. So, I mean, you over there trying to pick and choose who's going to be the dad. If you wanted to pick and choose, you shouldn't have been having sex with all them damn people. I'm just saying. Then you wouldn't have to choose from a bunch of different people. That's the problem, is you are out there doing all these kind of different things, and then you got to be making choices, when the reality is that had you stuck with one, you wouldn't have all these choices to make. So, but anyway, but yeah, she was like, do you know how to change a diaper? Do you know how to do this? And I'm sitting here like, do you know how to keep your legs closed? Like, you couldn't, I mean, they're at work. You got 3 people at work. I mean, you taking your turns, all of, what is it they say you like everybody gets a turn. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just crazy. Like, Fraternity Court get crazy. It gets crazy on that show. So, but yeah, it's just interesting, the whole baby mama thing. These women that they make babies, and then when it comes to raising them, they act like, well, they don't know what to do because they didn't take the time to figure out what they were trying to do before they even went there. But that's part of the problem, people hopping in and out of this bed, that bed, not being responsible, and then getting mad when the end result is a baby pops up. Well, what did you expect? Yes, and then Carr says, exactly, community policing. Thank you very much. Non-relationship says, salute W versus M. I know that's what Manosphere versus Manosphere. And then it says, great content. Thank you very much. Everything that Knowledge and Relationships does is great original content.
Yeah, original
in there. Great original content. We got the book chat. We got Mondays, we got Thursday, we got Ladies Night, we got Queen Dom and Luann, we got it all. We got other stuff that's coming up that we ain't gonna tell y'all about, because the reality is when you tell certain things, there's duplicates. There's duplicates, but you can't, when you can't duplicate the original. The original is the original. So
the original recipe.
Can't help it if Knowledge and Relationships got all kinds of original content, Just saying, original. Like how this book is the original. Just saying, the original. So, poetry? How I am the original one to be doing poetry?
Damn, hold on. I gotta get a soundbite for that. What the hell? Where's my soundboard at? Jeez Louise. We in the
Oh,
money, baby. We in the money. We in the money.
yeah,
Yeah.
just saying, and you want to have content. That's the main thing. If you ain't got a lot of content, that's not good. Just gotta say. All right,
Mm.
thank you. Good show today. Yes, M3 is saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Woman's Spirit says thank you, M3. Shout out to Tammy and Mr. Best. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, bro. Thank you.
Love a shout out. Love a shout out. Thank you very much. Carr says, unfortunately, single parenting tends to watch the juvenile to seek I think that's identify, and many seek that identity is in peers, school, and media influences. Absolutely, absolutely. So, and that's the thing is that you have these parents that don't necessarily parent their child; they allow other people and things to parent their child, and then you have the parent says, "Well, my child would never do that. I don't know why. I don't know where they get it from. You know damn where they got it from. You know damn well where they got it from." Stop capping, as my students say. Stop capping, okay? You know damn where they got it from. Trying to act like you don't know. You know. You saw when we did distance learning for a year. You know. You already know. Come on now. Come on now. Don't go there. All righty. And yes. Did someone say original? Of course we did.
Yes, original.
Gotta say original. It says that soapbox must be when the tide is turned. LOL. Love it. So, okay, let's get back to the book, y'all. Let's get back to the book.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, definitely like and subscribe. Let me find the link. Where is the link? Is that the link? That is the link. Okay, I'm gonna put that there. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna read another quote in here. So this is under a chapter that says "You and White Exceptionalism." So it says white people desperately want to believe that only the lonely, isolated whites only club members are racist. This is why the word racist offends nice white people, and that's in quotes, so deeply. It challenges their self-identification as good people. Sadly, most white people are more worried about being called racist than about whether or not their actions are in fact racist or harmful. I found that very interesting because it is true. They're so worried about being called racist that they're not even paying attention to the words and the actions that they have. That's what you need to be paying attention to. Stop being scared about somebody saying that you're racist. And in the book White Fragility, that's one of the things it talks about is that for white people, they equate the word racist and as with bad and non-racist as good. So if you ever watch a video where there's a Karen, they always say, "Oh, I can't be racist. I do this and I do that," and they tell you all these good and great things that they believe they've done. They want to tell you all the good and great things they've done because in their mind, I can't possibly be racist because I've done all these great things. So how could I be? Because in their mind, they need to say, if I tell you all these great things I've done, then I can't be racist. So you can't call me that because I've done amazing things. But the reality is, you being racist has nothing to do with all the good things that you've done. It has nothing to do with that. So that's what that quote is saying, is that they're so worried about being called racist, they're not even taking the time to think, is something that I did or something that I said, is that racist? So and that's the thing, is that they're concerned about the wrong things. And that's part of the problem.
Yep.
That is part of the problem. So anyway, let me see if there's any other quotes in here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in this, but this is a lot. So anyway, let's see. Any more? Let me see if there's any more comments that I didn't read just yet. I think I read them all. Did I read them all? Yes, I did. Okay. Except studies show that original content takes a lot longer than copied content. Oh, absolutely. You see, when you copy and paste something, it don't take nothing to copy and paste something. So original content, you got to put in work for that. That's not something that happens. That takes work and dedication. And if you ain't about work and dedication, then you ain't about getting to where knowledge and relationships is. I'm just saying.
Yo, yeah. All right, Tammy, chill, Tammy, chill. All right, they had enough. They had enough.
Okay,
Woo.
so
All right.
okay. So let's see. So another good thing in this book, there's so many good things in this book, and I'm gonna be reading some things, but so let's see. Where can I? Okay, so I will just want to read this part that says, how does white privilege show up? So it says, and I like it because it pretty much tells a person to ask themselves this question. And if they can say yes, then that means that that's their white privilege. So it says, I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. It says, when I'm told about our national heritage or about civilization, I'm shown that people of my color made it what it is. I can go into a bookshop and count on finding the writings of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods that fit with my cultural traditions, into a hairdresser shop and find someone who can deal with my hair. It's very interesting because when I was reading this, it really made me think. It really made me think because certain things you wouldn't even look at as white privilege. Like certain things you would just, because it might be because it's just a way of life for you, you might not think like, damn, that really is white privilege. So when I think about that, like going into a hair shop, not necessarily a black hair shop, but just a hair shop, and them being able to deal with my type of hair. The fact that you can go into a hair shop and not have, you don't even have to ask, do you work with this type of hair? You don't even have to ask that question. You can go in there and you already know that they deal with your kind of hair. So that, even that is white privilege. And that is just, that's crazy to me. It's crazy that even something like that is what is white privilege. I found that to be interesting. It says, I did not have to educate our children to be aware of systemic racism for their own daily physical protection. That's what I'm talking about, those conversations that you have to have. That is white privilege at its finest. You don't have to have those conversations. You don't have to talk to your child about the fact that someone may not want to play with them because of the color of their skin. You don't have to have those kind of conversations. And that, my people, is white privilege. If a traffic cop pulls me over, if the IRS audits my tax return, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my race. It said, if it said, if the IRS audits my tax return. Now, and that makes you really think like, damn, if you've ever been audited, or if you do get audited, was it really because you did something, or was it because they looked at your name and their race and they decided that they needed to look further into your taxes? That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me. But it's these type of things that certain people do not have to worry about. It says, if any day, week, or year is going badly, I need not ask if each negative episode or situation, whether it has racial overtones. I can be sure that if I need legal or medical help, my race will not work against me. All these different things that, and that's what I was saying earlier in the show, that if you haven't had any direct racism that you can think of, you may say, well, I haven't really experienced anything. But when you read a list like this, it's like you have to really sit there and think like, damn, like I can't just go into any, and that's even for the men. They can't just go into any barbershop and say, do you know how to cut my kind of hair? They can't. They would have to do that if it wasn't a black barbershop, because they may not have worked with somebody who has your type of hair. And little things like that are just, even the thing about the supermarket. Even the thing about the supermarket, it doesn't have any foods that fit with your cultural tradition. It has it may or may not, I'll say, it may or may not have the ingredients, but even that's not a guarantee. So it was things like that, and I was like, damn. And that's why I like this book, because it's a book that will make you think. It is a book that will make you think. So yes, Definitely, definitely, definitely. And then it says here, it says white privilege describes the unearned advantages that are granted because of one's whiteness or ability to pass as white. It is very important to note that white privilege is not a concept that is part of the natural order of life. In the absence of white supremacy, white privilege is meaningless. One of the things I thought was interesting when it said pass as white. So if you are somebody who is Black, but you can pass as white, you reap the benefits of white privilege, even though you're Black. So somebody who is Black who can pass as white reaps the benefit of white privilege because of the fact that you can pass. Very, very interesting. Very, and then it says, because you're Black, no, this, and so the author, she's Muslim and she's Black. Let me see if I can find, this is her picture right here. This is the author. That's the author. And she said, because you're Black, because you're a Muslim, and because you are a girl, she says, you are going to have to work 3 times as hard as everyone else around you to get ahead. So that was something that her mother had told her when she was younger. It says, she says, my white classmates were unconsciously given the privilege of being treated as normal and more worthy of the teacher's time, attention, and caring. It says, not having male privilege does not cancel out one's white privilege. A person can lack economic privilege, but still have white privilege. So even if you might not be rich, that doesn't take away from the fact that you still have white privilege. So that's why I've heard things like when I watch and they say, oh, you know, I didn't grow up with money and I didn't have this and I didn't have privilege, because in their mind, it has to do with money. It has nothing to do with money, because even without that money, you still can benefit from white privilege. And that's just a fact. So
but money is also an aspect though, right, Tammy?
Oh, of course. Of course, of course, of course. So, you know, this book right here, I'm telling y'all, this book right here. So, see, and I'm getting into the quotes because, you know, I have my little questions that I have up here. And my third question was, what are my favorite quotes from the book? So I'm just kind of going through reading different things. So it says, the desire to be seen as good by yourself and by others prevents you from looking at the ways you unknowingly participate in and are part of white supremacy because of your white privilege. Your desire to be seen as good can actually prevent you from doing good, because if you do not see yourself as part of the problem, you cannot be part of the solution. So that's the thing, is that if you are if you think you're such a great person, in your mind, you don't need to do anything because you're good. So that's why they name off all these great, great things, because once again, in their mind, I'm great, I'm good, I do all these wonderful things. So white privilege has nothing to do with me. That, you know, I don't have that. I'm all that, you know. So that's the thing, is that they don't see certain things. They think that they're good. So in their mind, they're good. They don't need to do anything else. They can continue to do things they've been doing. They don't need to do anything else. They don't need to change their language. They don't need to change any of their behavior. They don't need to change any of their thoughts, because they do all these great things. So that makes up for that. The good things they do make up for anything that might slip out. The good thing they do makes up for any bad things that you may interpret as racist. Because that's the thing, you interpret it as racist. For them, it ain't racist. For them, they don't know what the hell it is. So let's see. So another thing. So one of the things it talks about in the book is tone policing. Tone policing. And I thought this was because this is another thing that when I was reading the book, it was something I hadn't even really thought of. I was like, tone policing. Like, I don't think I've ever even heard that statement before, but I found it very interesting. So it says, tone policing shows up when people with white privilege say or think the following thing. So it says, I wish you would say what you're saying in a nicer way. I can't take in what you're telling me about your lived experience because you sound too angry. Your tone is too aggressive. The language you're using to talk about your lived experiences is making me feel ashamed. The language you're using to talk about your lived experiences is hateful or divisive. You should address white people in a more civil way if you want us to join your cause. The way you're talking about this issue is not productive. If hold on, we got a guest.
We got a guest. Hold on. I gotta ring the doorbell. I have to ring the doorbell. Where's my doorbell?
What's going on?
Hey, what is going on? Hey, y'all.
What's going on, Lady King?
What is going on?
Hold on. I'm trying to give an introduction, man. Dang, man.
I apologize. Go ahead, Mr.
Hold on, Eddie. Hold on. I'll bring you in. Hold on.
He said he's going for
everybody. Listen up, all right? This man has the original best music producer on any YouTube station, all right? Original content, original beats, original music, okay? I'm bringing in the music producer for Knowledge and Relationships, DJ Eddie King.
Yes, cheer. Thank you, Mr. Best.
No problem.
Lady King, what's going on?
What's going on? I've been hearing you, listening to you read this book. I just came in, just stepped in.
Well, I appreciate you joining. Yeah, so right now, I'm talking about tone policing.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back over these things in here in the book. It talks about the different ways that you see. So tone policing. So it says it shows up when somebody says, I wish you would say what you're saying in a nicer way. I can't take in what you're telling me about your lived experience because you sound too angry. Your tone is too aggressive. The language you're using to talk about your lived experiences is making me feel ashamed, is hateful, or divisive. You should address white people in a more civil way if you want them to join your cause. The way you're talking about that issue is not productive. If you would just calm down, then maybe I would want to listen to you. You're bringing too much negativity into this space, and you should focus on the positive. And it's just interesting. Like, so I'm gonna ask you guys. So I'm gonna ask you, Eddie King, and I'm gonna ask you intellectual. Like, have you guys ever heard anybody say any of those things to you? Like, what do you guys think about those things?
About my tone, yeah, but not based on white people, just my tone.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
That's hilarious. And that's the thing, like, I've never heard anybody say anything like that, but I can see how that would be considered tone policing, because somebody who is white, they're gonna feel like what you're saying, because you are very passionate about what you say, they may feel like what you're saying it in an aggressive way, when you're not trying to say it in an aggressive way, you're just passionate about how you feel. So to look at it in that way is that white privilege kicking in. That's that white privilege kicking in. So it says, tone policing occurs when you judge people of color for not conforming to white norms of communication. So for example, being too loud, using African-American vernacular, or speaking in ways that do not conform with standard English.
Hold on, guys. I got the pizza man is here. Hold on. Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, pizza man.
Hold on one minute, guys. Yeah, hold on.
Mm-hmm. So it's like I said, with this book, I've been finding things interesting because there are things that I never really thought about. And they're the kind of things that, to be perfectly honest, would kind of make you kind of irritated and angry, because now you're seeing things you didn't see before. So even the thing about going into a hair place and asking, do you know how to work with my kind of hair? Like that, now I'm reading that, I'm like, damn, that kind of irritates me, because now that's something I'm going to pay. So this shows you things to pay attention to. So I think this shows white people things to pay attention to, but it also shows Black people things to pay attention to that you didn't necessarily see before, but now you see it because now it's being pointed out. So I think that's the great thing about this book, is because it's forcing things to be pointed out, because these are things you need to pay attention to. So anyway. So it talks about white superiority. It says the reality is that you have been conditioned since you were a child to believe in white superiority through the way your history was taught, through the way race was talked about, and through the way students of color were treated differently from you. This is addressing to white people. It says, you have been educated by institutions that have taught white supremacy through curricula that favor a white-based narrative, through the lack of representation of people of color, and through the way these institutions handled acts of racism. You have been conditioned by media that continues to reinforce white supremacy through an overrepresentation of celebrities and leaders who look like you, through the cultural appropriation of people of color, fashion, language, and customs, and through the narrative of the white savior. And you likely work within industries that uphold white superiority through a lack of representation of people of color at leadership levels, through inclusion and diversity policies that are about optical allyship, and through HR policies that tone police and marginalize employees who are people of color. So I found all of this to be very, I find this whole damn book to be very, very interesting, to be perfectly honest. But it's interesting because it talks about the history books. And, I'll go back to the earlier book study I did where, the lies my teacher told me, where it talks about these history books and what really needs to be in there that's not. And it's interesting because that is, as this book says, white-based narrative. It is a white-based narrative. Let me go back to these comments real quick. Okay, so Carr says LOLO, and then says, interesting as for medical under the knife with the white. Can't melt the snowflakes with that fiery breath. LOL. It says, I totally agree with that in an overall sense. Thank you. Clara has so much to say, and we love it. So yeah, so very, very interesting about this white superiority, about this white exceptionalism. And it even says, as a person holding white privilege, are exempt from the effects, benefits, and conditioning of white supremacy, and therefore that the work of anti-racism does not really apply to you. So that's what white exceptionalism is. That's what somebody who has that white exceptionalism believes, is that they're holding white privilege, they're exempt from the effects, benefits, and conditioning of white supremacy. So because you have white privilege, that is what you are conditioned to think. So anyway, let me keep going. Let me go through this book a little bit more. So I told y'all I got all these pages marked off of different things I wanted to speak about when I was on here. All righty. And then we have We Unlock Nation says knowledge.
What's going on, bro?
IG. What happened?
No. Tell him what's going on.
Oh, okay. Okay, so here we go. So it says, so that's one of the other things I like about this book is that after each topic, it gives you examples of how these things are shown, how you see these things. Like for example, this example, the chapter is called You and Color Blindness. So it says, how does color blindness show up? It says, how does color blindness show up? OG Patrice, what's going on?
Hey, OG.
She says, great salutations. Hey, OG Patrice. I want to put the link down. Mr. Intellectual Soapbox, can you please find the link and put it down? So,
yeah, I got you.
Come on over. Okay, so yeah, so like I said, one of the things that I liked in this book is that after a chapter, it will tell you how it shows up. How do you see it? How do you notice it? And so once again, like I said, it says all of our IGs are under the description. It says, greeting OG Patrice. And there we go. There is the link. We're going to leave it up here for a little bit. But yeah, so how does color blindness show up? So it says, when it says some common statements associated with color blindness. I don't see color, I only see people. I don't even see you as black. I don't care if a person is black, white, green, yellow, purple, or blue. He or she is a person of color, when referring to a black person, because saying black makes the speaker feel uncomfortable. Interesting. It says, I don't know. I don't think that happened because you're black. I've experienced something like that before, and I'm white. In response to a black person sharing their lived experience of racism. Talking about the races causes racism, racial divisiveness, or saying affirmative action is racist. So these are different ways that if you hear this is different ways that color blindness presents itself. Very interesting. Okay, let me go on. So you and anti-blackness against black women. So another thing I liked about this book is that they have a chapter that has you and anti-blackness against black women, and then it has another chapter that says you and anti-blackness against black men. So I'm going to read part from each one. So Carr says, OG Patrice, wishing you a great evening. Najralisha says, link is also pinned to the chat. And OG Patrice says, Carr, salute, sir. She says salute. All righty. Okay, so in this chapter, it says black women bring up all kinds of feelings in people with white privilege and non-black people of color. Fear, awe, envy. Oh, hold on a second. We got to guess.
Hold on. Let me ring the doorbell. Let me ring my doorbell.
Are you doing an introduction?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I got it. Oh, got to introduce. What I call the realest person on the YouTube streets. She is the OG. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to OG Patrice. What's going on, OG Patrice?
Hey, can y'all have some company?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
How y'all doing this evening?
Doing good, OG. We're doing good. We're doing good.
How are you?
I'm okay. Lost my voice a little bit. I performed Sunday already with a sore throat, but it's a little worse now. But I hope you guys can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
So I'm just talking about this amazing book that I read.
Oh, interesting.
This amazing book. So right now I'm going over, there's a chapter that says you and anti-blackness against black women. So it says black women bring up all kinds of feelings in people with white privilege and non-black people of color. Fear, awe, envy, disdain, anger, desire, confusion, pity, jealousy, superiority, and more. Black women are either superhumanized and put on pedestals as queens, or the strong black woman, or they are dehumanized and seen as unworthy of the same care and attention as white women. They fail to capture black women in the mesh, joy, beauty, and femininity of women of other races. Black women are so often underrepresented because they are not seen as women, let alone as people, the same way white women are. Black women are often painted with a broad, monolithic brushstroke that categorizes them into particular stereotypes that rob them of their humanity. It says, in the United States in particular, these stereotypes have arisen out of America's violent slaving history with black people and black women in particular. Then it says, black women around the world also experience this white gaze lens of being seen as angry, strong, aggressive, and wild, as well as being believed to be lesser in intelligence and beauty than other women. They are seen as either the aggressive adversary, the sassy side chick, or the deferent devotee to white women. This perception becomes more exaggerated the more dark-skinned a black woman is. It says these boxes do not only constrict black women's sense of unique individuality and worthiness, but they also lead to mistreatment, abuse, and even death. Just I'm gonna just read a little bit more. It says, you okay? So it says, one example of this is in the proliferation of the U.S. Black maternal health crisis. It says Black women in the United States are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than their white counterparts. When Black women are seen as stronger and less worthy than their white counterparts, it is no wonder that this translates into the medical field. Therapists are less likely to perceive a Black woman as sad. Instead, they see her as angry or anxious. He says, we even have our own class of misogyny directed at us. Misogynoir, I think that's pronounced, is a term coined by African American feminist scholar, writer, and activist Moye Bailey, and it's defined as the particular brand of hatred directed at Black women in American visual and popular culture. It says it describes the place where anti-Black racism and sexism meet, resulting in Black women facing oppression and marginalization under two systems of oppression: white supremacy and patriarchy. So sorry, I know that was a lot to read, but I had to read all of that. So, OG Patrice, you just came in. What do you think about what I read, OG Patrice?
It's very interesting, and sadly to say that it is sad but true, and for the most part. Um, and now what I'm finding is a lot of that sentiment has been passed on to Black women against other Black women.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, I've experienced it in the workplace. I've experienced it in entertainment. I've experienced it in just my regular work. Like right now,
Mm-hmm.
I thank God I have a good relationship with the boss that I have now, which happens to be a Black woman, and we talk all the time about the pressures of, being the only two Black women in the space, and the expectations of us is way higher than it is our white counterparts, and how we have to work twice as hard. We feel like we're more in the spotlight for them to just wait for one thing to go wrong for them to like highlight that and say, see?
Right.
So to even be in that type of work environment can be very hostile for Black women. And that book is absolutely correct. It hit a lot
Mm-hmm.
of pinpoints that I talked about. Even as being a part of ADOS, we had to take courses on race relations in America.
Mm-hmm.
Talks a lot about what Black women go through, and especially the darker the skin of the Black woman. We
Mm-hmm.
have been marked as being the angry Black woman, like you said, that whole aggressive
Right.
thing, and too emotional, and it's sad, but Black women are picking that up against other Black women.
Right.
You guys know how I talk when I get in my conviction of what how I feel about something. I'm very passionate when I talk, and if I'm giving my righteous indignation, of course my voice gonna go up, down. It's gonna be different tones and textures of my voice. But we always get coined or pinned as these women that are too emotional and too in our feelings and too angry or too this and too that, and it's spilling over in our own community.
Right.
So
Right.
the thing about it is, like when we say to each other, you too much in your feelings, you in your feelings. But that's a real thing, and I keep telling everybody that feelings is a real emotion that people feel and express, and depending on how they feeling at the time, they expressing they expressing the emotions of that feeling, whether it's anger, sadness, happiness, whatever. So and so during the time of taking the ADOS, and we had to, because of course we know, ADOS is about reparations
Mm-hmm.
for Black people for all the atrocities that was done to our people by that other, our white counterparts, race back then. And so we had to take a race relationship course, and it opened my eyes to things that I have experienced my whole life in the workplace, no matter whether it was entertainment or any other regular jobs that I've held over my lifetime.
Mm,
And to know that um, a lot of us, and especially I'm a darker skinned woman. So it is so true. And again, I keep saying it's still, we know we deal with colorism in our own race.
right,
There's this thing with light skin privilege versus dark skin, was considered, not as attractive or not as privileged or anything of that nature. So to get it from both ends
right,
was definitely twice as hard for a darker skinned woman, because you're getting it from your white counterparts that are very racist or prejudiced or biased or bigot towards black people, and the darker the skin, the worse. And then you go in your own community and you get judged by the color of melanin in your skin as well. So yeah, absolutely.
thank you for that, OG Patrice. Thank you. Intellectual soapbox. What are your thoughts about what I read? Are you there?
I think that that's always the case. A lot of times, people will get we do this whole thing where it's like, okay, if somebody is of darker skin, they must be evil or whatever else. You know what I mean? So we definitely get that a lot. So I think we just got to be, when we see things like that or we see that happening, we just got to address it. You know what I mean? Off top, we can't do this thing where we're allowing people to demonize us. I mean, we already put in a box already because we are already black, right?
Right,
So now they want to. The whole thing is, if anybody has read the Willie Lynch letter, definitely read it. From there, they've always been trying to separate us. So what I mean. So if they can separate us on any type of account, and we all know who they are, if they can separate us on any type of account, they will do it. So they can
mhm,
separate us based on the color of our skin, based on the variation of color, based on whatever. They're going to do that, and we have to be intelligent enough and intellectual enough. No shameless plug. You know what I mean?
mhm.
To understand what they're doing, we have to be aware. And if we are aware,
Right,
we can avoid these things. If we're not aware, then it will continue to happen, and we'll continue to be divided. You know what I mean? Even more than what we are right now. So yeah.
right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Eddie King, you there?
Yeah, yeah. I just stepped in. I just stepped in. The
Okay.
guy screwed up my order.
Oh no.
He gave me pepperoni and mushrooms. I did not order that. Okay. So I'm sorry. I just
No, you're
stepped in,
good. You're
guys.
fine.
I
You're
hate
fine.
when they mess up my order. I
Oh
hate it.
my goodness. Yes.
Are they giving you? Are they fixing it for you?
They fixing it for me right now.
Okay, good.
And
Okay,
I
good.
told the guy to go get some change. Don't come over here talking about you ain't got no change. Go, you got to go get some. That's the game they be playing.
That's
So,
hilarious.
hmm
Um. Okay, so I'm
May
gonna
I
read.
may I say something right quick?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
wanna I wanna also say that please know that same perception goes with men, and it really
Hmm.
hurt men when it came to the criminal justice system and
Yeah.
the policing of black men. There is a um, there is a document on a YouTube with Dr. Joy DeGruy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but oh my gosh, she's an excellent professor of psychology, and she talks about how a former white police officer who's retired talked about how they were actually trained to be afraid of the darker and the bigger the black man was, the more afraid to be of him, the more to be prone to, you know, um, delete him. Basically,
Mhm.
the more the darker he was and the bigger he was, they were the white police officer said the more afraid that
Mhm.
they were, and they were trained to actually know how to deal with that in
Wow.
that type of way. And even in sentencing, even during trial and sentencing, the darker the man was, the bigger he was, the more time he was given. in prison. So just know that the biases works the same way with men, with our black men, except for it works worse for them when it comes to the criminal justice system. So I just wanted to
Hmm.
say that too.
No, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, OG Patrice. All right, let me read some of these comments. Carr said, OG Patrice, wishing you a great evening. Anthony says, link is also pinned to the chat. And I think I already read some of these. Hold on a second. It says, a Vaughn is calling. And says, well stated. And Vaughn Eric says, shalom all. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell, y'all. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna read this last part from this one, and then I'm gonna go into the next one. So this one says, it is my belief that the rising and empowerment of Black women is one of the biggest threats to white supremacy. Knowing this, white supremacy works particularly hard to stifle, undermine, marginalize, demonize, and harm Black women. All anti-Blackness, regardless of who it is directed at, paints Black people as inferior in all ways except the ways that can be used by non-Black people for non-Black gain. When it comes to Black women, this treatment is compounded by the added marginalization faced under sexism. Alrighty, so now I want to get to the next chapter that says you and anti-Blackness against Black men. So I read this quote earlier, and I want to get feedback from Eddie King and OG Patrice. So this quote, because this is you and anti-Blackness against Black men. So the quote here says, because white men can't police their imagination, Black men are dying. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So what do you think about that, Eddie King?
So one more time. Read that one more time from that one part.
Because white men can't police their imagination, Black men are dying.
Police their imagination.
Yes. So real quick, when I was saying earlier is that, the interactions that happen are not because of what they know about that particular Black man, is what they imagine him to be. So because of that, it's causing them to act and react in a way that is causing Black men to die.
See that right there is those policemen shouldn't be on the force. That's dangerous. If you're scared, you shouldn't have joined the force.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really that scared, you shouldn't have joined, because there's a lot of policemen out here that are scared of us.
Mm-hmm.
They are really scared of us. That's why half the time, we get shot unarmed. We walk down the street, we get shot for no reason. I've heard, people have heard of that too. That's a story about that too. I'll get into it a little bit later. But they should not be on the force if they're that scared. Now I understand that you don't know this individual. He could just pull out a gun, shoot you. You might be having a bad day one day, just pull out a gun and shoot you. That has happened. But all of us are not like that.
Right.
All of us are not like that. All of us are not dangerous. A lot of us are good people, but to them, it's just they see this black face. Period. You can graduate from college. You can be a billionaire with a suit on. Right. They are scared of you. The majority of the policemen, majority, right. Really. And I think that they should stay. Or matter of fact, I think they should go work at a coffee shop if they're really that scared.
Right. Thank you, Eddie King. And what did you think about that quote, OG Patrice?
I'm sorry. Can you please repeat it? I done heard a little bit.
So the quote said, "Because white men can't police their imaginations, Black men are dying."
Yeah, unfortunately, again, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had several prime examples of that over the last few years, especially the last 2 to 3 years of experiencing that. And again, guys, please know that is a trained. It was already a mental thing with them, and then they get on the police force to specifically target, our men for the most part, because a lot of, we have to understand the whole construct of how the police department came about. First of all, it goes all the way back, and I can't help. We always have to go back, guys. The police department came out of the slave patrol. The slave patrol was turned into the police patrol, so they were always infiltrated by a lot of people that were white supremacists. If you remember back then, right out of coming out of Reconstruction and Jim Crow, we still had a lot of racist people. So
Mhm.
they just found another way to uh, to do a lot of things to our people, especially the black men. So they put on police uniforms, and they were already, some of them were already KKK members, some of them were already white supremacist guys, even back then coming out of the Jim Crow era, and they would join the police force so they could find other ways to set black men up. A lot of
Mm.
black men from that time up until current. I mean, you got the Hoover administration era in the 60s and 70s and 80s where a lot of black men were set up. They were what do you call it when they um framed? They were
Mhm.
framed, for crimes that they didn't commit. And the bigger and the darker you were, the worse the case would be for you. And that's just real. The slave patrol, where they actually would capture the runaway slaves, turned into the police patrol, and this is history, guys. Turned
Mhm.
into the police patrol, which after Jim Crow, those white supremacists put on the blue uniform for protection. And even when they had black cops, the first police officers back then were not allowed to even carry guns for a long time, guys. They were scared to give them guns. And then when they did give them guns, they were only allowed to police their own communities only. They still wasn't allowed to go in white neighborhoods or any other race of neighborhoods and arrest anyone else. Only the Caucasian counterparts was able to do that. So you guys, so even to this day, and this is the thing I keep reminding our people of, when you have generations of white supremacy. These are racist people that bring other people into the world, and they become racist too, because that's a learned behavior. So you got a father or a mother that's having children and raising children, and they're racist.
Mhm.
What do you think their children gonna be? So
Right.
this is a learned behavior that's passed down from generation to generation, and a lot of them become police officers. Hey, Tawana,
Mhm.
I know even me being from Chicago, Chicago police department comes from a background of 3 and 4 generations of families that were on the police force that were Caucasians. And it's from the Jim Crow era up until current, and you don't see that so much in the black communities where you have 3 and 4 generations, because they wasn't hiring black people that like that. So during the Hoover era, it was a bunch of white supremacists on the police force, and it still is right to this day, a bunch of racist people on the police force.
Yeah.
And it's
Mhm.
proof of that when they are killing unarmed black men in such a
Right.
manner. So please know that it's a real thing. It's a learned behavior that is passed down from generation to generation. The-
Mhm.
And
Racism will always exist as long as racist people raise other racist children that become racist adults, and then they have children and they raise racist children.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
you
Got
know,
it.
and
Gotta
also
give a shout out real quick. Hold on, Eddie. Gotta give a shout out real quick to Tawana G. What's going on, Tawana? Go ahead, Eddie.
no, I was just saying, and also, you know, there are good cops there, but the problem is they can't say anything
Mhm.
because, you know, truthfully, they will end up being killed by some of the police officers there.
Mhm.
You know, set up and killed. And this has happened a lot. And that's why the majority of the cops, when they see a sergeant, when the sergeant's in charge, and let's just say he shoots an unarmed black man, there's like a couple of black cops who are just regular cops, and they see this, but they can't really do anything or say anything because this job is all they have.
Mhm.
so they don't say anything about it or even mention it. And if they do mention it, they lose their job and they end up being killed, being set up by one of the officers. So, yeah.
Okay, so thank you, OG Patrice, and thank you, Eddie King. I want to read this real quick in that one that says, "You and anti-blackness against black men." So it says, "Black men are often trapped in a one-dimensional imagining of what and who they are supposed to be. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the United States, where as with Black women, stereotypes that arise from America's violent history with African people have stripped Black men of their humanity." It says in 1915, and in the movie Birth of a Nation portrayed Black men that were played by white actors in blackface as unintelligent and sexually aggressive towards white women, a fabricated propaganda message that was disseminated again and again to justify the violent treatment of Black men as being for the protection of the innocence and purity of white women. It says a century later, this stereotype of the sexually aggressive Black man still lives on in the collective white psyche, as heartbreakingly witnessed in the tragedy of the wrongfully accused Central Park Five, who served between 6 and 13 years in jail for sexual assault crimes in 1989 they did not commit. It says, during the live #me and the white supremacy challenge, one of the phrases that came up again and again about Black men, regardless of where in the world the participant was from, was "I fear Black men." When Black men's sexuality is not feared, it is often fetishized. There we go. Black men are often seen as sexual conquests, there to satisfy the white appetite with their allegedly exaggerated genitalia. They are also sometimes seen as a means to an end, a way to produce biracial babies, a way to feel Black, or a way to anger white parents who would balk at the thought of their white child being in an intimate relationship with a Black man. In the United States, there is, of course, a fraught and abusive relationship between Black men and the justice system. This is enabled in part by white people who are constantly calling the police on Black men and Black people. Oh, hold on a second. I'm gonna keep reading. Intellectual soapbox. We got a guest.
Hold on. Yeah, I'm here. Hold on. One more time, Philip.
Someone's at the door.
Yeah, someone's at the door. I wonder who. Well, you know what I mean? Here she is, you know what I'm saying? She is one of, the non-relationship family members, you know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes she be starting trouble, though, so I don't know if I can let her on. I'm going to let you on, but we start no trouble, all right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to bring her in. Queen Forever 2K. What's going on, Queen?
Queen! What's going on? What's up?
Boom.
What's up, Queen?
Shake the room.
Chill.
Shake
What's up?
the room. What's up?
What's up, Queen?
Break your window.
Queen.
Eat your food.
I love it.
And watch your Netflix. That's what I'm gonna do. What's up?
Yeah. Nothing. I was just reading part of this. Part of this chapter that says you and anti-blackness against Black men. So I'm gonna keep reading and then I'm gonna come to you real quick.
Okay.
But it says in the United States there is of course a fraught and abusive relationship between Black men and the justice system. This is enabled in part by white people who are constantly calling the police on Black men and Black people for simply existing. It says a shocking example of this happened in 2018 when 2 Black men were arrested while quietly sitting at a Starbucks in Philadelphia as they waited to meet a white man for a business meeting. The police were called simply because the 2 men had not ordered anything as they were waiting for a friend to show up. I remember that. I remember hearing about that. Did you guys hear about that when that happened?
I didn't
You didn't hear about that? Where the 2 Black guys that were sitting in Starbucks and that a white person called the police on them because they hadn't ordered anything and they were waiting for somebody. So they didn't order something because they were waiting for somebody, but because they didn't a white person called the police on him, and the police came. Yeah.
No, I didn't hear about that. Man. That's deep.
Yeah. It is. It is crazy.
This has
So
happened constantly, not just these Starbucks either.
And then it says, okay, so it says, how does anti-blackness against black men show up? So it says stereotyping black men as sexually aggressive, violent, less intelligent, lazy, and criminal, experiencing surprise when a black man's behavior, demeanor, or personality does not fit into white supremacist stereotypes, desiring intimate relationships with black men to shock or surprise white family members or friends, assuming financially successful black men are either athletes, entertainers, or drug dealers. That one right there. That one right there. So you think because he is financially successful, he's either an athlete, an entertainer, or a drug dealer. And the last one says, desiring affinity with or approval from black men in order to feel more woke. What do you think about that, Queen? What do you think about those?
I'm not surprised. I mean, what do you expect? That's all we will ever be. So but we got to do better. We got to break those stereotypical molds they put us in,
right, and
carry ourselves differently.
Right. So, well, what do you think, Eddie King?
Well, this is going on today.
Yeah.
This is going on today, right now as we speak. Especially when I go to work, sometimes when I go to certain people's houses to bring their boxes and stuff in, and they'll complain and say that you have black men here at the job, call the police, and didn't even know that we was the people that work for the company, and they still call the police. And a lot of this has happened still.
Yep.
Still, and I just feel like but I think we curse. I think that we are cursed.
Interesting.
Yes.
Intellectual soapbox. What do you think?
I think that I'm saying that these are stereotypes that were given to us. You know what I'm saying? In order to make them feel safe and for them to portray that they're the good guy. And the thing is that if it's funny because if you ever see them walking around like in the neighborhoods or whatever, they have this posture about them where they think that they're good. They really think that they're the good guy. We're the good one. You know what I mean? And they really, really like walk around like that. And like when I see it, I'm like, you guys are full of shit. You know what I mean? You're not the good ones. You know what I'm saying? Really ain't nobody really good, honestly, because we all got dirt. But when somebody's just walking around and they have that little fake old smile, and I hate when they look at you and they smile at you with that fake smile. I'm like, don't look at me. Go about your little merry way, in your little world that you live in. You know what I'm saying? Just leave me alone. You know what I mean? But they always will be fascinated by the African. They always will be fascinated by the African. You know what I mean? Because of our skin tone, our looks. You know what I mean? We more physically. We're more aesthetically pleasing to the eye. You know what I'm saying? We could stay in the sun longer. Just a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're good at sports and everything. I mean, and not only good at sports, but we're able to come up with things so quickly. No matter what kind of condition you put in, they're just so fascinated about it. They're so fascinated. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? They have an African fascination. You know what I'm saying? And they always have been this way for centuries. So we can't be surprised by it. You know what I mean? We just got to know what it is and understand that they know things about us that sometimes we don't even know about ourselves. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everybody's comments. Thank you very much. All right, so real quick, let me read this. It says, anti-blackness against black men upholds the colonistic white supremacist view of black men as violent, almost animal-like savages and brutes who are less intelligent than their white counterparts and who pose a threat to white womanhood and to society at large. This is dehumanizing. It is easy to blame the past on the or the criminal justice system for these tropes, but it is important to remember that white supremacy is a system that is upheld by individuals who benefit from it, and it is up to each individual to pull out, confront, and own their part of the negative that keeps the system running. So the thing with that is that it's hard for them to do that, because in order for you to own up to it, in order for you to confront it, you would have to confront some things about yourself. And we talked about accountability yesterday. So that's about holding yourself accountable, and not everybody's ready to do that. Not everybody is ready to hold themselves accountable. So anywho. Now we got UN anti-blackness against Black children. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm going through this book, not the whole entire thing, but I'm going through enough of it to catch your attention. But okay, so this says, from the age of 10, Black boys are perceived as older and more likely to be guilty than their white peers, and the police violence against them is more justified. It says, we have only to look at Black boys like Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin, who were killed because they were not seen as children, but feared as Black men who could do harm to anyone at any moment. And then it says that data shows that adults view Black girls as less innocent and more adult-like than their white peers, especially in the age range of 5 to 14. Specifically, the study found that compared to white girls of the same age, it's perceived that Black girls need less nurturing, need less protection, need to be supported less, need to be comforted less, Black girls are more independent, know more about adult topics, and know more about sex. He says, regards to the treatment of Black girls in the education system, the system suggests that the perception of Black girls as less innocent may contribute to harsher punishment by educators and school resource officers. Furthermore, the view that Black girls need less nurturing, protection, and support are more independent may translate into fewer leadership and mentorship opportunities in schools. So it says there's no example. It says, as an example, in 2015, a 15-year-old, Dejaria Beckton, I think it says, was dragged by her hair, slammed to the ground, pinned and handcuffed by a white police officer while she cried out for her mom outside a pool party she was attending. So real quick, before I get you guys' response to that, it says, how does anti-Blackness against Black children show up? Fetishizing about wanting to birth or adopt Black children, pitying Black children, wanting to save Black children, using Black children as props. So for example, traveling on mission trips to Africa to take pictures of African children, the adultification of Black children, which is treating them as older and less innocent than their white counterparts, overlooking Black children, expecting Black children to be stronger than their white counterparts, expecting Black children to be less intelligent than their white counterparts, and using Black children to prove that you or your children are not racist by being overly nice to them or wanting your children to be friends with them. What are your thoughts, intellectual soapbox?
Yeah, but that's what happens. Like I said, they want to portray that they're the good guy and that it doesn't exist. And one way they can prove that it doesn't exist is by them saying, "Oh, I have a Black friend, or I have Black people that I know," and it's like, no, it's you having one Black friend don't mean that you are doing things to actually really help people of color. It just means that you have one person that you associate with that's a person of color. That's all that means. It means nothing to us struggling. It means nothing to us having, equal say, equal rights for equal pay, or equal anything, or being looked at as equal in society. So, I think that, that's just a cop out and a ploy for them to use to just keep up what they're doing and continue to be racist.
Thank you for that. What do you think, Queen? Queen, are you there? Okay, I'm gonna come back to you, Queen. What are your thoughts, Eddie King?
Queen, you fell asleep again?
Wait, is Queen sleep? I know Queen sleep. Hold on. I know Queen. I know you ain't sleep.
You got a buzzer.
Wake up.
Buzzer. That's hilarious. I love the buzzer.
Wake up, Queen.
I love the buzzer.
We're gonna close the door on you. You know what I'm saying?
I love it.
Because every time you give an answer, you just give us crickets. Come on, Queen. Queen.
All right, First Lady.
Yes.
All right, break it down again for me, please.
Is Queen talking now? Are you talking now, Queen?
You got crickets? What's wrong with you?
No, what's wrong with you?
The crickets woke her up. The crickets.
You supposed to. That song. You supposed to leave the door open.
No. You want me to leave the door open? You want me to do that? You want me to leave the door open?
Open the door, man.
Can you break it down a little bit more, Tammy? I'm sorry.
So it's just pretty much talking about the anti-blackness against Black children, and like it talked about the story about the girl that was it says she was dragged by her hair, slammed to the ground, pinned and handcuffed by a white police officer, and while she cried out for her mom outside a pool party she was attending.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That. Yeah.
Yeah. So and it talks about how Black boys are perceived to be older and more likely to be guilty than their white counterparts, and also that that Black girls, are seen as needing less nurturing, less protection, need to be supported less, comforted less. They're more independent. They know more about adult topics, and they know more about sex. So this is the perception that they have of Black boys and Black girls. What do you think about that?
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they think, but I mean, that book gonna get people in jail. So, I can't be reading stuff like that. You know what I mean, Tammy?
That
Tammy,
book
what you
right
trying
there
to do?
is
You got
deep.
my bail bond money? I'm gonna call you in Sacramento.
See that right?
You better pick up. That's all I'm gonna say. No, I just think it's horrific.
Mm-hmm.
Just but I think, I can't blame other people for having a perception when that's the perception that a lot of us feed into and give them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying everyone's like that, but when we are okay with that perception and we embrace it, we can't get mad when the repercussions of that perception come upon us.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta want better and do better in order to be thought of better.
Right.
Wasn't that prolific? I'm so smart.
That was beautiful.
Listen to me. Beautiful. I should be on the monument and this preaching. So anyway, yes.
That's awesome. Thank you, Queen.
And don't be closing no doors on me again. I'm up, okay?
I agree with Queen.
You up? You sure you up?
I'm up.
You sure?
Any you put the buzzer again.
No, you ain't getting in. I'm gonna leave you outside.
They both took the words right out of my mouth. I agree with both sides. And Queen and Mr. Best, they took everything I was going to say. But go ahead. I heard about that also. I heard about that as well.
We made DJ Eddie King speechless.
Yes.
Oh Lord,
I wrote this stuff down. What I was going to say, I was writing it down.
That was awesome. Okay, so real quick, so the last part of this book I want to talk about is the one that talks about you and white saviorism. And I thought it was interesting. This whole damn book is interesting. I just have to say, but it says white saviorism seems benign on the surface, trying to help the marginalized, trying to give a voice to the voiceless, trying to advocate for people who cannot advocate for themselves. In reality, though, white saviorism is another form of white supremacy. White saviorism puts people of color in the patronizing position of helpless children who need people with white privilege to save them. It implies that without white intervention, instruction, and guidance, people of color will be left helpless. That without whiteness, people of color who are seen as inferior to people with white privilege in the white imagination will not survive. It says white saviorism is condescending and an attempt to assuage one's own white guilt. It may look like an attempt to make things right, but it only serves to empower people with white privilege by making them feel better about themselves. It is actively disempowering to people of color and continues to reinforce the white supremacist ideas that people of color are only useful to the extent that they can be used for white interest, and that white people are more capable of knowing what is best for people of color than they know for themselves.
Yeah. So basically, if let me see. So basically, what it's saying is they feel sorry for us, which is the reason why they might have an open hand. But there's levels to the open hand to where you can only be on a certain level that the white supremacists want you to be. Am I hearing that right, or maybe I'm wrong?
So it's pretty much the white saviorism is saying that you can't make it on your own, so you need a white person to help you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Which is to
we're
save
gonna
you.
save you because people of color, they need to be saved by white people. So we're gonna do what we do because if it wasn't for us, you wouldn't survive. You wouldn't make it. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So what do you think? I mean, that's a term that I've heard is the whole white savior thing. So
Well,
what are your thoughts, Eddie?
I don't think that we need them. I think that's false. I mean, we damn near created everything, every single thing, including the White House. We built the White House too, the temples. We don't really need anybody. Like we could actually survive on our own. We could, also we could survive the sun. A lot of white folks cannot. That's why they get suntans. They can't be at the and the part of that is true. By the way, I'm not trying to disrespect any white folks with it because I got a whole lot of white friends. I'm just making it clear. I'm not disrespecting y'all, but this is just the truth. As far as standing on the sun, but we can survive on our own. Everything was stolen from us. We created everything. So I think that's false. That we need them. No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Now, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and that's the thing is that the white privilege in their mind that's what they think is that you need to be saved because.
But hold on. In this situation, since America is being run by white folks, some of that can be true that we need them for us to be in a certain position. Because remember they scared of that black face. A lot of them are scared of that black face. Okay, so it's to them. They can only put you in a certain area, but they got these, other big time white friends that's going to look at them,
right?
And that's making them look bad, basically. So you can't be on a certain. You have to be on a certain level to even climb up. You have to really just basically kiss ass to even get up there, and who knows how long that's going to take.
Right.
But that's what's going on right now in America. I can't speak for other countries, but I know that in America.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eddie King. Queen, what are your thoughts about white saviorism?
Hold on.
So I'll talk to
yeah. I just wanted to say it's not really. I guess it's called white savior to them because they're running the show, which is they're running right now in America. So you have to they basically saying, well, we got to help you, climb up just a little bit, but at a certain level, you're gonna have to pause because also it's like some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them are good people, but they're so busy worrying about their own people of how they think and how they will feel, and they might be in a certain position that we is of today, a certain level, but they at the highest level of America right now.
Right. And that's the thing, like, I can see that, the thinking that, with this white savior thing is that I'm going to help you because you can't help yourself. and you need me as a white person to help you, because that's the only way you're gonna make your own way to survive. And that's the interesting thing, is that is a big thing. That's why you have it, like they talk about certain movies like The Blind Side. They say that is an example of the whole white savior, that she came in and took this young black man and helped him to, go to college and do well in school, all these kind of different things. And had she not came along, he wouldn't have been able to get where he gets to. And that's the thing I like, that on the surface, you might be like, oh my gosh, they're helping him, he's doing well, but you have to look below the surface. You can't look what's on the surface. You have to look below the surface to really see what is going on in the mindset. The mindset of the person that has this whole white savior mentality. So all this whole white supremacist stuff is really, really interesting. So but this book, y'all, I'm telling you, I didn't even tell all the stuff in this book. I did read a lot of quotes and a lot of things, but there's so much more to this book that I didn't even go over. That I definitely think that if you have not, and the book is Me and My White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad. That's who it is, Layla F. Saad. So
are you going to do a part 2?
So basically,
with this book, because I did so much about it, I probably won't do a part 2.
Okay.
So this book, like, and that's the thing, like I was saying, even before you guys came in, there were certain things it was talking about as far as white privilege. And so I think that when it comes to like racist things that are blatant in your face, those are the things that you pay attention to. But there's little things that you don't even look at as white privilege, that when you think about it, it's like, damn. Like one of the things that's said in the book is that, let me see if let me go into it, because
basically, I'm going to help you to get on a certain level, but you're not going to be high as me. And when I help you, I want you to, I don't want you to smile. I don't want you to be excited. I don't want none of that, basically. So this is what's going on. They will not let us be higher than them. Not saying all of them. I'm just saying those that are in position to help you.
But like certain things, and I'm gonna read these again because I read these earlier. And these are things that you don't necessarily really think about, and the thing I like about the book is like it makes you pay attention. Like, damn, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, that's white privilege right there. So one of the things it says, because it says, how does white privilege show up? It says, I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. When I'm told about our national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is. I can go into a bookshop and count on finding the writings of my race represented, into a supermarket and find the staple foods that fit my cultural traditions, into a hairdresser shop and find someone who can deal with my hair. And I thought that was interesting, because that is such a true statement, that if you are a person of color, you can't just go into any hair shop. You have to find a particular shop that understands how to work with your hair, because if you go into any shop, that's the question you ask. Do you know how to work with my type of hair? And the fact that you have to ask that question, that shows the difference, because someone who has white privilege, they don't have to ask those questions. They can go in and they already know that the person there knows how to deal with the kind of hair that they have. But if you don't have that white privilege, you have to ask those questions. So what it makes me think is, like, if any place that you have to go into and ask a question to see if this is a place that you can get things from, do something, that just shows the difference between you and the white privilege that's already there. Like I said, going in the supermarket and finding the staple foods from your cultural traditions. You can go into a store and there might be the ingredients that you need, but that's not a guarantee. So you would have to ask, do you have this type of thing? And so they might look at you like, well, I don't know, I've never heard of that. So even something like that. And then another thing it said was, if a traffic cop pulls me over or if the IRS audits my tax return, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my race. And that one, I was like, damn.
Yes.
So even an audit by the IRS could be because of your race. That right there is just crazy.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't even think. That wouldn't even be a thought that you got audited because you do put, you do put who you are, and they're able to see, who you are, where you work, all this kind of other stuff. But that could be a reason you got audited is because of your race. I mean, of course, traffic cop, we know that already. But I was like, damn, that's just crazy to think about. And so that's what I was saying, like with this book, I was like, damn, this book really makes you think, like, hold on a second. Now I got to think about every type of interaction I've had, every store that I went into, all of that. I have to sit in there and think, was I able to see the white privilege that I don't have? So this book right here, when you see the title, it says Me and My White Supremacy. Obviously, I'm not white, so I don't have white supremacy. But this is the kind of book that not only will make a white person who reads it question the white privilege that they have, like, damn, I really do got white privilege, but it'll also make a black person look like, damn, there's all these different kind of ways that white privilege presents itself that I didn't even notice before. I mean, it could be something as simple as you go in the door and a white person goes in and they don't hold the door open. Then you gotta think like, damn, okay, did they not hold the door open because I'm black? They thought they didn't have to because I'm black? Is that what that is? So very, very interesting. This book right here. And I really enjoyed it. And that's the last question. The last question, in fact,
I've enjoyed it too.
I have.
Y'all need to go and get this book, y'all.
Right.
Okay, raise that book up again. Let them see that book one more time. It is called Me and My White Supremacy.
Yes.
Go.
And the author's name is right down there, Layla Saad. But yes, would I recommend this book? Hell yes, I would recommend this book. Hell yes. If you were not here for the whole thing, definitely go back and watch the replay. But if you were here and you heard everything I said, definitely get this book. It will be a book that you will not regret getting. It's a book you will be happy that you read, because like I said, there were things that it talks about in here that I didn't even get into. There's things that I didn't get a chance to get into yet. So, I mean, it talks about power, relationships, and commitments, allyship. It says anti-blackness, racial stereotypes, cultural appropriation. It even has a chapter that talks about cultural appropriation, what that is, how it presents itself. Yeah, definitely. Pick up this book. If you ain't picked it up yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. So anyway, other than that,
yes,
let me show y'all the next book that I'm going to be doing. Now, this one, I don't have a copy of the book. I'm going to be doing the audio version of it. But I'm going to try to get a copy of the book, because I like having the actual book in my hand. I mean, I don't mind, having the audio version, but having the actual copy of the book in my hand is like so much better. So this is the book right here. It's called the 1619 Project. The
1619. That's the book I got. Yes. You didn't get the book yet?
No, because I've been having to do some stuff. So but I'm picking up the book, and it doesn't take me long to get through the book. But let me read this real quick. It says in late August 1619. Are you there, Queen?
She probably
Okay, cool. So it says in late August 1619, a ship arrived in the British colony of Virginia bearing a cargo of 20 to 30 enslaved people from Africa. Their arrival led to the barbaric and unprecedented system of American chattel slavery that would last for the next 250 years. This is sometimes referred to as the country's original sin, but it is more than that. It is the source of so much that still defines the United States. It says the New York Times Magazine's award-winning 1619 Project issue reframed our understanding of American history by placing slavery and its continuing legacy at the center of our national narrative. This book substantially expands on that work, weaving together 18 essays that explore the legacy of slavery in present-day America, with 36 poems and works of fiction that illuminate key moments of oppression, struggle, and resistance. The essays show how the inheritance of 1619 reaches into every part of contemporary American society, from politics, music, diet, traffic, and citizenship to capitalism, religion, and our democracy itself. This is a book that speaks directly to our current moment, contextualizing the systems of race and caste within which we operate today, reveals long glossed over truths about our nation's founding and construction, and the way the legacy of slavery did not end with emancipation, but continues to shape contemporary American life. So yes.
Wow.
That's going to be the next book. And when I tell you that book is going to be one for me to really get down here and talk about, it's going to be one to get down and talk about. So anyway, I'm going to end the lovely, lovely book chat. I'm so glad that Queen came on and DJ Eddie King came on, and Patrice came on, and Intellectual Soapbox came on. So real quick, I'm going to have everybody highlighted, and then you can shout yourselves out. So let me go ahead and start with, not me, of course. We're going to start with Eddie King.
Ladies first, ladies first.
Oh,
ladies first.
Okay, absolutely. Queen, there you go. Hold on 1 second, Queen. There you go. Okay, go ahead, Queen.
Yes, hey, you can reach me on Instagram at Queen Forever 2K and Knowledge and Relationship platform. You know, I'm here. I give my 2 cents. Well, it's worth more than 2, but I'm gonna give y'all that. I'll give you my 2 cents, and I keep it pushing. Next, Eddie King. Cheer.
Cheer.
All righty, Mr. Eddie King.
Quick, I hope you had a good day at work today. You know, I hope all of y'all did.
I did.
You know, that's great. That's great. Well, first and foremost, shout out to the chat. Shout out to Mr. Best, First Lady Tammy, Queen Forever 2K. You can find me on Instagram, dj.eddie.king on Instagram, YouTube, DJ Eddie King. I am the music creator for Knowledge and Relationships. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and it's free. Hit the notification bell, and go ahead, Mr. Best. What'd you say?
He said producer.
Oh, producer. Okay, I am the music producer for Knowledge and Relationship. There we go.
Where my contract at?
Okay, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. That way you get recent videos, old videos, and new videos. Thank you very much. And shout out to M3. Go ahead.
Where my studio time at, Eddie? We need to talk.
Yes.
Cheer.
Whenever you're ready. Yeah.
What's going on, family? Shout out to everybody in the channel, to everybody in the chat. Thanks for being part of the Knowledge and Relationship Experience.
Don't come on here eating.
Sorry, I'm eating dinner. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry, but thank you for being a part of the original Tammy Book Club, her book corner, the original.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Also, I got to shout out Mr. He Said. Mr. He Said, I see you, bro. Peace, family. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Everybody jumped on the panel. Shout out to OG Patrice. Everybody going here. Queen Forever. DJ Eddie King, the music producer. And of course, First Lady Tammy. Shout out to M3 as well. M3 was good, baby. You know what I mean? Tammy, take it away. Let's go home.
All righty. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really enjoy this. I think this has been my longest book chat, but you know what? I had so much to say about the book. I couldn't keep it short. I had to keep it as long as I could go strong. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much. I enjoy this book. I'm looking forward to the next book chat that I'm doing on the 1619 project. So make sure you pick up that book so you can join me. You can come into the panel and we can discuss what the book is about and give it all the accolades and all that kind of good stuff. So I am here on Mondays. I am here on Thursdays. I am here for Ladies Night on Saturdays. I am here for the book chat on the Tuesdays. I'm here whenever I need to be here.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
I'm so glad for everybody that was on the panel, everybody that was in the chat, everybody who hit the like button, who subscribed, hit the bell. If you haven't done it yet, I know what you're waiting on.
That's
You know,
right.
time is of the essence. You better go ahead and click and do what you know how to do.
That's right.
Yes. Oh, and my Instagram, First Lady Tammy 916. Definitely can't forget that.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, thank you so much for tuning in. So glad it was here. And until next time, pick up a book and read.
Yes. Mm-hmm.